How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Creative Collision Podcast. This is Saeed here, bringing you a brand new episode. This is going to be a big episode. There's a lot going on in the world of sports. This is Super Bowl weekend, so I'm going to talk about the Super Bowl, of course, the big game this Sunday, and give my predictions. Also, a big story happened today. Big news in the world of baseball. Trevor Bauer has signed with the Dodgers on a record-breaking deal. So, for Dodger fans out there, we're excited. It's a big deal. One of the highest-paying deals in baseball history. It was a 3-year deal, $102 million for Trevor Bauer. The Dodgers were already the favorites to get back to the World Series and win the World Series, and they didn't really have to do nothing special this offseason. They could have just stayed with the same team and they would have been the favorites again. But now adding the best free agent pitcher available, one of the best pitchers in baseball, who just won a Cy Young, is just going to make them that much more lethal. So I'm super excited as a Dodger fan, of course. So I'm definitely going to talk about that and might give my thoughts about that and where that places the Dodgers, not just for this year, but the next couple years. And then the third thing I want to talk about, it's going to be Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans drama going on over there, how Deshaun Watson wants to get traded. There was a rumor about the Raiders wanting to try to trade for him, and I mean that would be crazy, as a Raider fan as well. Seeing them make that move would just be something that I feel like will definitely set them, well, not over the top, but it's going to place them in a position where they can at least compete with the Chiefs and Mahomes, So I'm going to give my thoughts about that situation. And then lastly, I'll talk a little bit about the Lakers at the end of this, how they just dominated the Denver Nuggets last night, and in the second half, they struggled in the first half, and then they just hit the switch, in the second half. They made one of the best teams in basketball look pretty mediocre, and that just got me thinking a little bit about how good this Lakers team really is. I think this might be one of the best Laker teams in my lifetime that I've seen, just from a roster perspective and the players they have. So I want to talk about that as well. So it's basically it's all sports, heavy sports podcast, but it's also talking about my three favorite teams. The Dodgers, Lakers, and Raiders. And then of course have to talk about the Super Bowl and what I expect from this weekend, and give some predictions on that. But let's first start it off. Let's get into the first topic here with the Dodgers news and Trevor Bauer. So crazy situation, because it was yesterday when it was first reported that Trevor Bauer was going to sign with the Mets. So so it was just about confirmed on Twitter, or at least all the reporters made it seem like it was confirmed. And then I forgot who tweeted it first, but somebody tweeted it that Bauer to the Mets is a done deal. And then a few minutes after that, someone else tweeted that nope, it's not confirmed yet. And these weren't just random people on Twitter. These were confirmed Twitter accounts from baseball, baseball guys, baseball insiders. They were getting this stuff all mixed up. It comes down to, it's a whole different topic for another day, but how the media nowadays always wants to be the first to break a story and break news on a big trade or a big free agent. Everybody wants to be Woj, everybody wants to be Adrian Wojnarowski or Shams, how the NBA guys are, Woj bomb, and baseball doesn't really have one of those guys, so you have a bunch of guys trying to be that person. So a little bit of that I feel happened on Twitter. But so that happened yesterday, and it looked like, okay, Bauer to the Mets was done, and all good. I mean, this whole time, the Dodgers have been rumored to get Trevor Bauer, or being played to get him, but I never really thought, I don't know. I wasn't that close to thinking it would actually happen. Part of it is just because the money he was looking for, and the Dodgers didn't really need him. It's a luxury. So that was one of the reasons I thought, like, the Dodgers have been rumored for a lot of people this offseason. Nolan Arenado trade that didn't end up happening. He ended up getting traded to the Cardinals. There's other pretty big names like Marcell Ozuna, Nelson Cruz as of lately. So they've been rumored in a lot of players, but nothing major has happened. They've been making key moves. And, so far I've liked. Before they signed Bauer, it's not like I was disappointed with the Dodgers offseason. I thought they made pretty key moves, like nice little moves. Bringing back certain players, bulking up the bullpen. Making them better, getting some key guys there. I know a couple fan favorite players have left this offseason, and Kike and Jock Peterson, but that was expected. I think a lot of us knew inside that it was going to be pretty slim chances that all those guys would come back, that they're going to want to go to a situation that's going to give them more playing time. As much as those guys love being Dodgers, they're in their prime, and they want it's not just about the money, it's also about more playing time. So we saw some of our favorites go, but they also made like key moves and nice moves to get better in certain areas that might have been a little weak, like the bullpen at times, right? So I wasn't disappointed at all with the Dodgers offseason. And of course, Justin Turner is still out there. I still assume he's coming back, but Turner's still there as a free agent. But the Bauer situation, as soon as that report from yesterday looked like it was a fake not that it was fake, but that it was not confirmed, that it wasn't official with the Mets. And then this morning, you saw on Twitter that the Mets were giving Bauer a deadline, basically giving him to like 12 p.m. Eastern time to make his decision. And that time over here in the West Coast, that's 9 o'clock in the morning. So that time passed, and after that, I think if he still hasn't signed with the Mets, and they give him a ultimatum basically, or they give him a time frame, and he still hasn't signed with them, at that point, that may be kind of really consider that he's gonna end up going to the Dodgers. I maybe really start to think about it, like this is gonna happen. And then it officially did, and then you see at first you're just thinking about the rotation they're gonna have, and what kind of how deep that starting rotation is gonna be now, with Kershaw, Buehler, Bauer, Urias, and Price, as well as Gosselin and Mays. So their rotation, they got 7 legit guys, and three ace type pitchers, Bauer, Kershaw, and Buehler. So it's so crazy. They got 3 aces basically, and like 4 other guys that would be number 2, 3 starters on most other teams. Like that's how deep that rotation is now. So that's just incredible, and it really, they already were in the driver's seat, but now it just makes them so much more lethal and dangerous. And then you kind of compare it to the rest of the division first, with the Padres and all the moves they made this offseason, trying to catch up to the Dodgers, trying to close the gap between themselves and the Dodgers. And I give the Padres credit. They are going for it. They're not backing down. They're not rolling over. they made moves this offseason. They obviously they traded for Blake Snell and Musgrove, and they're they have added going back to Clevenger from this previous year, so they bulked up their starting pitching. They made trades and during the season last year too. So it looked like they were kind of closing the gap a little bit. It was going to be real competition with the Dodgers, even though the Dodgers were still considered the favorites. But now the Dodgers countered with this Trevor Bauer move and widened the gap again. It's kind of like the Padres did all this work this offseason to try to close the gap, and they're kind of right back to where they were. So I mean, it's still, again, it's baseball. Baseball is one of those sports where a lot can happen and a lot needs to go right to win. But the Dodgers are the runaway favorites right now at this point in the season, and could be one of the first teams, or could be the first team to win back-to-back championships since like the Yankees of the late '90s. So, I mean, they're right in position to do that this year. So super exciting. Getting to the contract that Bauer signed, it's a 3-year contract for $102 million, which he can opt out after the first and second year. So it's very front heavy loaded. He's getting $45 million this first year, and then the second year he gets $40 million. So, so those first 2 years are where he's making, where he's gonna make a lot of that money. Like 85% of his almost 85% of his money's gonna come in those first 2 years. So I think it's a good deal for both ends, for both sides. Now there are some Dodger fans out there that are not in love with the signing, and not just because the money that he's getting, but also people are not very fond of Bauer as a person. He's kind of, I know there's been some stuff in the past that makes him seem like an asshole and kind of a jerk and all that. I do think a lot of it is just how outspoken he is a lot of times, and it rubs people the wrong way. I don't know if he's necessarily as bad of a person. I mean, I don't know the guy personally, of course, but I don't think he's as bad of a person as some people make him out to seem sometimes. But again, he is a quirky guy. He has a big personality. He's a little full of himself sometimes. He'll come across that way, but I don't see that as an issue, especially with the Dodgers, because the Dodgers clubhouse, I feel there's so many stars, with the organization. There's so many big names and stars and big personalities that it won't, a strong personality won't affect the morale of the team, because it's the Dodgers. They're a superstar team with a lot of superstar level players. So, Bauer's if he was on a team that didn't have any other stars, then that could be a dangerous situation, because he could start acting up in a bad organization. But with the Dodgers, I don't see how that's gonna happen. There's too many leaders in that clubhouse, and to not let that situation get out of hand, if it were to. So I'm not worried about that at all. I'm not worried about the whole clubhouse stuff with Bauer. And as far as the money, some fans, some people don't really like the contract and the amount of money he's getting, because they feel like it's going to affect them down the road, when it comes to re-signing some of their key guys, right? Like Corey Seager or Cody Bellinger and Walker Buehler. Most importantly, those are the 3 big names that they're still on their rookie contracts. They're still under team control, and arbitration for the next couple years. Well, other than Seager's in the last year of that of his arbitration. So fans have them in the back. We have them in the back of our mind that eventually we're gonna have to pay these guys big money, and is Bauer. We just hope Bauer's contract doesn't get in the way of that. And my response to that is, the Dodgers are very smart. They know what they're doing. Andrew Friedman especially, ever since he's came to the Dodgers, he's had this whole plan where he's trying to win now, but also knows that the future is important, and he's done a really great job of balancing out trying to be a team that wants to win right away, and the Dodgers have been, and obviously they've won the division 7 years in a row, and they just won the World Series, so they're always in it, but they haven't made moves to ruin their future either. And Andrew Friedman's the best in the business at this. I think he's the best GM in baseball. So, he's a mastermind when it comes to this stuff, man. So he wouldn't sign Bauer for now, just to sign him without having a plan for the future, without knowing, that this could affect everything in a couple of years when it comes to re-signing their guys, right? So I just have confidence that Andrew Friedman and the Dodgers just know what they're doing. And I think they deserve the benefit of the doubt in saying that. So they haven't proved us wrong yet. So even though that's why I think the contract works for both ends, because Bauer got what he was looking for. He wanted to play for a championship contender, which he is, and also in his hometown, right? He's from LA. So he got exactly what he wanted, playing for his hometown on a championship level team, and he got the contract he wanted, which was a shorter contract where he can opt out, and he gets more money per year. The AAV, which is the average amount, per year. Did I say that right? Average annual. Well, I forgot what the acronym is for it, but basically the annual average contract that he's getting per year is what he wanted, right? And that's basically 3 years at $102 million. That's I believe 34 million a year, and then he can opt out after any of those first 2 years. So you got the money up front like you wanted, and then the Dodgers, it works to their benefit too, because that money's paid up front to Bauer in the first 2 years. Most of that money's going to be paid, and then they don't have to start paying Bellinger, Urias are not free agents until after the 2023 season. So that's still 3 full seasons from now, And by that time, Bauer will be off the books. So they know what they're doing. They have a couple more years before they have to give Bellinger, Urias big money. Buehler is not actually arbitration eligible, or the last year of his team control is not until 2024, where he becomes a free agent. So that's still 4 more seasons from now. And then you kind of look at, I guess the most concerning one is going to be Seager, of course, because he is a free agent after this season. I don't know how much the Dodgers signing Bauer is going to affect their opportunity to keep Seager. But I'm guessing it wasn't going to make a difference regardless whether they sign Bauer or not. I don't think that's going to affect how they're going to look at the Seager situation, really. Because I don't think the Dodgers are caring about the luxury tax now that they surpassed it. And uh, with Seager, more than likely Seager is going to be looking for a big deal, a long term deal, because he's still young. So in that instance, I don't know if Bauer's contract's really going to matter for what the Dodgers uh, were going to look for with Seager, anyways. So that's just my thoughts. I don't think it's going to place as big of a role as people are making it out to seem like, oh, we're giving Bauer all this money. How are we going to be able to keep our guys? I think Friedman again. He knows what he's doing, and he has a plan. And then you kind of look at contracts expiring, getting off the books. David Price, he has 2 years left on his contract. He's getting paid $32 million a year. I know the Red Sox, I believe, are paying some of that, like half of that or so. So his contract is done in 2 years after Bauer's second year, and then Kenley's contract expires this season. He was making $20 million, so that goes away after this year. Kershaw is done after this season as far as his contract. Of course, I don't want Kershaw to go anywhere, but he's making $31 million this year, in the last year of his contract. So I'm sure the Dodgers are going to try to look at re-signing Kershaw now that he's older now, at maybe more of a team-friendly deal. So he'll save some money there on his contract. Kenley, I don't see coming back. So there's contracts falling off the books within the next year or two, big contracts that are gonna kind of even out this Bauer contract, and by the time Bauer's contract expires, then they can that's when they have to pay Bellinger and Urias and Buehler. So the timetable works perfectly. My guess is about what's gonna happen with Bauer is, I think he's gonna opt out after year 2. He's making 45 mil. He's making 40 mil the first year. He can opt out after this first season. But I don't know. I mean, he might, but I don't think he will. I don't think he's gonna opt out of a $40 million a year after that first year, and opt out of that 45 mil, which he's gonna get in year 2. So my guess is that he doesn't opt out till after year 2, and then he plays 2 years. He maybe re-signs with the Dodgers, or he goes somewhere else. So that's my predictions, and that's why I don't think it's gonna affect what the Dodgers are gonna do with the other guys that they're looking to keep. Their homegrown guys, their boys that they've had and developed, and their stars that they already have. So just my opinion. We'll see what happens. But either way, it's exciting. It just feels so good to be a Dodger fan. It's a great time to be a Dodger fan, man. It's special. You see the type of talent this team has, and they're going to be so good. Not just here, not just now, but for a long time. This could really be a team that can be a dynasty. It does have that potential. It had that potential. The Dodgers have the potential to be the late '90s Yankees. That won 4 championships in a 5-year span. With that team, it's hard. It's gonna be hard to do that, but the potential is there. So I'll leave it at that. That's it for my Trevor Bauer talk and the Dodgers, and just exciting stuff. So now let's get into the Super Bowl this weekend, and I'll give my predictions on that. All right, so Super Bowl 55, the big game this Sunday, Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Very, very good matchup when you look at from a historical perspective, because you got the one of the the old GOAT basically in Tom Brady. That's at the end of his career. Of course, the most historically accomplished quarterback of all time versus the young GOAT in Patrick Mahomes, a guy that many people are projecting that can catch Tom Brady one day, and just overall greatness status, as far as where he's going to rank at the end of his career amongst all-time great quarterbacks. And Patrick Mahomes is off to the best start a quarterback can ever have, especially if he wins the Super Bowl. So you have the old GOAT versus the young GOAT. Um, so that right there is pretty special. We don't ever get to see something like that often. It's like, imagine if you know young Kobe got to face Michael Jordan in the finals. It's basically similar to that, or even going back to maybe like if Tom Brady, when he was a young quarterback, had got to face. I know the years don't match up at all. It's not possible. But if a young Tom Brady had faced like a Joe Montana in the Super Bowl, something like that. That's basically the equivalent of what we got going on here. Yeah, I say it's like a young Kobe versus Jordan on the Bulls. As Jordan's at the end of his Bulls run, and that could have been a possibility because Kobe was in the league already. That's kind of what we got right now with Mahomes versus Brady, and it's all that right there is just makes this game very just very historical already. Just that fact alone. So I assume it's going to be a very high viewed game. Um, but yeah, I mean the Chiefs are 3-point favorites, and I like that. I'm gonna take those odds. I think the Chiefs' offense is just overpowered too much. I think I just don't see. A lot of people are scared to bet against Tom Brady, and I get that. He's Brady. He's won 6 Super Bowls. This is his 10th Super Bowl. But when I just look at the teams and on paper what each team has, uh, I I just don't see how the Bucks are gonna stop the Chiefs from scoring. At least in the high 20s, it's gonna be hard to keep them from scoring 30 points. I feel like I just think the Chiefs we're just waiting to get to the Super Bowl. They were kind of going through the motions all year, so people kind of started to say they were overrated, or they're not as good as they were last year. They're not as hungry, and some of that could be true during the regular season. But once the playoffs came around and the way they whipped the Bills ass, like it was nothing. All that Josh Allen talk, they put that to rest right away. And if they did that to the Bills, I don't see why they're not going to do the same thing to the Bucks. Brady, as great as Brady is, he is 43 years old. I don't know how we could expect him to keep up with Patrick Mahomes. I know it's a Super Bowl, and that's what makes people nervous. It's hard to bet against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, but again, he has lost 3 of them. It's not like he's perfect in the Super Bowl. He has lost some of them before, so that's why I'm not too nervous about it as much as other people are. I feel like a lot of people feel like their head tells them the Chiefs, but like their heart says Bucks because of Brady, and he's done it so many times, and you just your heart doesn't want you to bet against him. And I'm speaking more so from somebody who's actually looking to bet on the game. It's a Super Bowl. Most people like to bet on the game, obviously. So I like the Chiefs, though. I like the Chiefs, and I like them to cover that 3-point spread. I see this. I see like a 31 20 23 type of game, or 31-24 Chiefs. Um, Brady he had bad moments in the Packers game. He threw 3 straight interceptions. We can't forget that. So, and it's not like the Packers defense. I mean, it was good, but it's not like it was his all-time great defense. And I think the Chiefs defense is, pretty decent, pretty good. They get overlooked because of Mahomes and how great the offense is, but I think they can force Brady to some turnovers. And if the Chiefs go up by 2 touchdowns early, then I don't see how Brady can come back from that. I know we've done it before, and he is Tom Brady, but I just don't see it this time around. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a blowout. To be honest, I think it's gonna be. I'm saying it's gonna be a one-score game, and that's simply out of respect for Brady. But because Brady has never been blown out in Super Bowl, he has lost 3 Super Bowls before, but he's never been blown out in one. So, um, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did happen. With that offense, Travis Kelsey, Tyreek Hill, and Mahomes. I know the Chiefs' offensive line is banged up, and they're down. Eric Fisher, their left tackle. So they got some issues too. But barring like anything crazy happening, I think the Chiefs are gonna take this one, and yeah, they'll be back-to-back champions. If that does happen, that will lead to another discussion. If Patrick Mahomes is already in the Hall of Famer if he wins, is he already like a top 5 quarterback all time if he wins? That will definitely heat up those type of discussions, and that'll be fun to talk about. So, not spending a whole lot of time on the Super Bowl. That's just my. I just want to give my predictions before the game, and should be a fun one. Should be a good one. So, yeah, that's my prediction. Chiefs beat the Buccaneers. I'm gonna go 31-24. That's gonna be my prediction for the game, and hopefully it's a good one. So I'll leave it at that. Okay, and then all right, moving on to Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans situation. Him wanting to be traded, doesn't even want to play for them anymore. Doesn't even, I think there's already rumors that he said that he would sit out the season if he doesn't get traded. But the reason I just want to talk about it real quick is there's the Raiders. The Raiders story that they're looking to possibly try to trade for him. If that were to happen, man, that would be amazing. That would be the best thing that would happen to the Raiders since I don't know how long. The Raiders. The Raiders I feel are just on the brink of being a playoff team. They've been getting close the last couple years. The last 2 years they've gotten off to good starts, and then they can't finish the season. The second half of the season they kind of start to fall apart. It happened this year. They were 6-3 this year. Remember, after they were 6-3, they went into to play the Chiefs, and they almost beat the Chiefs again. Remember, they beat them earlier in the season, and then they went close. They got close to beating them again. Then they went to 6-4 after that loss, and people like the Raiders. A lot of so-called experts, on TV, all the analysts out there were in the driver's seat to get to the playoffs, and then they go from 6-3 to basically, well they go 6-3. They lose back-to-back games to get to 6-5, and then they barely beat the Jets and the Jets were trying. It looked like they were trying to lose that game. They just blew it with like a dumb blown coverage, and the Raiders win last minute, so they barely escaped to get to 7-5. But they don't look good in winning, beating the Jets, who were at that time were winless. And then they end up what 8-8 this year, so average 500 team, right? They end up 8-8. So. And that's from a 6-3 start. And then the previous year, 2 years ago, they started off 6-4 and ended up, I think, 7-9 in 2019. So they're kind of right on the brink of being a playoff team. They got talent, They got a good running back. They got a really good tight end, Darren Waller. They got some talented receivers who are getting better. Their defense got better this year. They've drafted the last couple of years. They drafted a lot of defensive players. That's been their main focus, and they've gotten better there since the Khalil Mack trade. I like Derek Carr, but there's something missing with Derek, and I think we gave him a lot of time already. He's been in the league long enough to where we know what he is now. I think we're still holding out hope that he can still be like an elite level quarterback, and after like 6 seasons, I think we know what he is. And Derek Carr, he's not bad. He's on his best days. Derek Carr looks like a top 10 quarterback on his best days. But then on the flip side of that, it's on his worst days, he looks like a bottom 10 quarterback. So that basically means he averages out to like a mid-range quarterback. He's like a top 15, top 16 guy. He looks good some weeks. He looks bad some other weeks. So if you look at his stats, he had a pretty good year, but he just, I don't think he's a guy anymore to get over the top. And I've been rooting for him for a long time. I used to be really high on Derek Carr when the Raiders first drafted him. I liked a lot about him. He was like a big Kobe fan, had all about Mamba mentality, and I feel like he's a good guy. He works hard, but there's just something. I think there's something missing. He just doesn't have that one it quality about him that I think can really take a team over the top. So you look at Deshaun Watson, who's easily a top 5 quarterback. If that guy, the Raiders got their hands on Deshaun Watson, now they go from a 7-9, 8-8 team to I think at least a 10-6 team. Next year. I think Deshaun Watson takes the Raiders to a 10-6 team, at least a wild card team, and at least a guy that can compete with Patrick Mahomes, because that's the first thing you gotta compare. When you're trying to win a division, the team that has the best quarterback usually wins the division. A lot of times, that's the case. And you look at the AFC West, you got Mahomes, who's going to be there for the next 10 years. And now you got to worry about Justin Herbert, who looks like he's going to be a great quarterback for a long time. And then the Broncos obviously still trying to figure it out, trying to find somebody. But if you're the Raiders, you don't want to be that team that's going to be not only behind the Chiefs but possibly behind the Chargers too for the next several years. So you need a quarterback that's going to compete with those guys. And Deshaun Watson is a guy, I would trade. I would try to make that trade happen in the heartbeat. If I was the Raiders, Derek Carr and a bunch of draft picks for Deshaun Watson. That's not bad. That's not a bad package either way. I know the Texans probably would want a young quarterback. They're gonna want a high draft pick to draft a young quarterback. But hey, if you look at what the Rams and the Lions just did, right, trading Jared Goff for Matthew Stafford and 2 first-round picks. Obviously, Deshaun Watson's better, so it's gonna take Derek Carr probably and probably like 4 or 5 first-round picks. But I think draft picks are a little overrated, and especially when it's for a quarterback of this caliber who's in his prime, who's still young, that's available. That doesn't happen often, so. I crossing my fingers. I hope the Raiders can get something like that done. That would be amazing. That would be great. I think he's the type of guy that can turn that franchise around. So we'll see. I just want to give my thoughts on that, and hopefully that's something that could happen. So, bring the Raiders back to life with a elite quarterback like that. So yeah, let's move it on. The last thing I'm gonna talk about, not gonna spend too much time on this, but just my thoughts on the Lakers and how they're looking. They absolutely dominated the Nuggets in the second half of last night's game, and what I really want to talk about is I think this Laker team might have the most talented roster of any Laker team I can remember, honestly. I've seen some great Laker teams, obviously the Shaq and Kobe 3P Lakers, and then the Kobe Gasol Laker teams, and then last year's Lakers. But how good this team is on defense when they turn it up, man. It's really special to watch. It's it's amazing. It's up there. It's up there as one of the most talented defensive teams, and it's not just because of AD and LeBron. It's guys like Caruso and guys like Harrell and Schroeder and guys that not known as those guys are not thought of as great defenders, but they just bring this kind of intensity and that they bring to the court. They're just put in the right situations with this team, and the the chemistry this team has with everybody knows their role. Kuzma settled in and he's become such an impactful player. It's not just about scoring anymore with him. So that's special to watch. I know there's other teams that Clippers are looking really good. They are looking good, but I still don't see how they're gonna have a chance with the Lakers. And the Nets have all the scoring in the world, but I don't know how how they're gonna be able to stop the Lakers from scoring. So I'm just really impressed with this Lakers team, man. I think they could be one of the most dominant teams in history with the talent that they have, the skill that they have, how well everybody complements each other. It's just special to watch. So I just wanted to talk about that real quick and give an update about my thoughts on the Lakers so far this season. But let's leave it at that. Let's end it here, and I'll be back probably next week talking about what happened in the Super Bowl and anything else that goes on as well. So thank everyone for joining me on this episode. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.